For centuries, pilgrims have journeyed to the coast of Odisha to visit the ancient temple complex at Jagannatha Puri. During the annual Ratha Yatra festival, millions of people gather here to pull 3 massive 45-foot-tall wooden carts through the streets. Safely moving these multi-ton structures through a sea of pilgrims is a peak of adult logistical coordination. It is an impossible feat for any single person to manage, let alone a child. But in the busy northern districts of 1900s Calcutta, a boy named Abhay Charan was watching. Abhay didn't just want to watch the festival, he wanted to hold his own. He began planning an 8-day parade in his own neighborhood, complete with its own dedicated cart. He was 6 years old. He spent his time studying railway timetables and asking adults about the train fare to Puri, trying to calculate the cost of reaching the real event. Organizing a multi-day religious event is a heavy burden for a kindergartner, but Abhay's parents had spent his entire life building the specific environment he needed to succeed. His father, Gaur Mohan, was a cloth merchant who viewed his son's spiritual education as his primary duty. He ignored suggestions to send the boy to London for a law degree, fearing it would prioritize money over character. Instead, the home was filled with the sounds of daily worship. Abhay would wake in the morning to the sound of his father's bell during Arati, seeing him bowed in prayer before the house deities. Gaur Mohan even hired a professional musician to teach his toddler the complex traditional rhythms of the mridanga drum. By age 6, Abhay had internalized these routines so deeply that he requested his own pair of deities, learning to offer them food and incense just as he had seen the temple priests do. Gaur Mohan successfully turned these intricate rituals into the boy's primary form of play. By the time Abhay wanted to throw a festival, he already understood every step of the ceremony. While his father provided the technical training, his mother, Rajani, provided the psychological safety. She was fiercely dedicated to Abhay's physical survival. She was a constant protective presence, chanting mantras for his safety and fastening a heavy iron bangle around his leg to ward off danger. Her most intense ritual was a vow. She began eating only with her left hand, a habit she intended to keep until the day her son noticed. She believed this vow magically shielded him from death, ensuring he would live at least until he was old enough to ask her about it. This intense wall of maternal care created an incredibly secure world for Abhay. He grew up without the fear of failure, giving him the confidence to take on a massive leadership role before he had even finished primary school. To realize his vision, Abhay first needed a cart. He and his father visited several carpenters, but they found that a custom-built model was far beyond their budget. As Abhay stood crying in the street, an elderly neighbor approached them. She had an old 3-foot-tall cart she was no longer using, and Gaur Mohan bought it for his son on the spot. Father and son spent days modifying the frame, building 16 wooden columns, stretching a cloth canopy over the top, and carving a small wooden horse for the front. Abhay personally painted the structure, obsessing over the details to ensure it looked exactly like the massive originals he had seen in the temple. Once the engineering was finished, Abhay turned to logistics. He recruited his sister and the neighborhood children to act as his towing crew and choir. His mother and the other local women supported his leadership by cooking the mounds of food offerings necessary for a traditional distribution. Supported by his father's resources and his mother's community ties, the 6-year-old saw the first day of his 8-day festival begin on schedule. For over a week, Abhay led the procession through the streets of North Calcutta, chanting and playing his drum as the neighborhood watched. Local men joked with Gaur Mohan about why they hadn't been formally invited to such a major event. His father simply replied, "They are just children playing." But this was more than a game. It was a precise application of everything he had been taught, a fusion of rigorous spiritual study and fearless leadership. An astrologer had predicted this boy would one day cross the ocean and open 108 temples. This childhood parade was simply the first rehearsal for a global movement.